Alright, so I've been thinking about leaderboards ever since the whole Technoblade and Squid Kid debacle, and it got me thinking, how long would it take to get first place on one of those leaderboards? And after trying for 5 years and losing my spot to the same guy who lost the Technoblade, I've been trying to figure out a better way of doing this. And you know what? I found it. An almost totally ignored leaderboard. And what's even better? I can do this on a fresh account in under 4 days. So, let's get to it. Our main goal of today is to set up shop, which means 3 things. Skyblock levels, or the fun barrier, coins, so we can separate ourselves from the pause, and minions, which will collect resources 24/7. Insert funny and original joke about slavery. Realize that joke doesn't actually work because Hypixel just calculates the minions output instead of having them actually run. Meaning that you're hiring workers who only work when you're around and then do nothing else. Anger. Pushing that out of mind. Right now, we need to focus on getting Skyblock levels, which can be achieved by doing a lot of things. Farming, mining, fishing, scamming people. It all really just works. And while we're doing these things, we're also getting coins from leveling up and crafting more minions from our resources. Killing 3 birds. As I was grinding out those skills, I made sure to heavily opt into Lapis and get 8 Lapis minions, which is crucial to our plan working. Finally, after all that grinding is done, we reached Skyblock level 7, lowering the first fun barrier. Did I say fun barrier? I meant the stock market. Now, with the Bazaar unlocked, we can copy more successful creators than ourselves and flip dirt to Hyperion. Except we're not stupid, unlike Daryl, so we're gonna do craft flips so we can, actually make money. And, after many hours of flipping, we end the day with 1,000,000 coins in the bank. Now, some of you might be wondering, did I remember to get the community center minion upgrade? I did. We're mostly doing more of the same today, doing craft flips, minion crafting, minion upgrading, and investing in better fuel sources. However, once our Skyblock level hits 12, we can move on to the next step of the plan, the Rift. Housing some of the most experimental content in the game, the only way I know how to describe the Rift is as a literal mixed bag, with it having some of the best and worst content Skyblock has to offer. And that's why it's the key to our mission. You see, due to the polarizing nature of the content within the Rift, the strict time limit placed on you when you're inside of it, and the relative newness of it, it's the perfect place to find ignored leaderboards that can be easily taken over. But to even get to a place where we can meaningfully grind out any of these leaderboards, we need to secure 2 things. A lot of Rift time, and a reliable supply of Grand Experience bottles, which we need in order to actually access the Rift in the first place. Unfortunately, our current Lapis minion setup is nowhere close to providing enough Lapis for us to be able to do this, so we're just gonna craft flip for the time being, in order to fuel our Rift endeavors. Anyways, we finally entered the Rift and began doing various things in order to gain Rift time, such as collecting Enigma Souls, not to be confused with Fairy Souls, these are actually useful. Getting gear, fight some enemies, fight a boss, jump in a lake, contract many foreign diseases that will most definitely negatively affect your children in the future. Do it again, and we end the day getting our first time charm, which will allow us to unlock the next area. We also have 6 mil in the bank, and we gain 4 more minion slots. Quite a successful day. We're on track to getting this challenge done in just 4 days. Today's the day when we get to the actual meat and potatoes of this challenge. There's just a little bit of prep left until we can start running out the actual leaderboard. Upon re-entry of the rift, we immediately book it to the next area available to us, the village. It's here we can finally glimpse the collection we're going for, the Agaricus cap. While notorious for its collection method, the notoriety works in our favor as literally no sane human being has seriously dedicated themselves to collecting this vile crop. I mean, look at number 1. Only 17,000 collected. I've got this! But we can't start quite yet. We're gonna need just a little bit more rift time, so we're gonna focus on 4 time charms. The chicken and egg time charm. Why is there an N? The Mirrorverse time charm, the Skyblock Citizen time charm, and the Living time charm, which are all pretty easy to get except for the Mirrorverse time charm. I hate the Mirrorverse time charm. And so, after completing all the odd jobs required for those charms, we finally have enough time to somewhat efficiently grind the Agaricus cap. I just need to return to my island to grab a few game-breaking bugs aside, we can finally move on to the main course of this challenge. Mushroom farming! Here we go! Why have I done this to myself? I could have been a plumber. We end the day with 14 mil in the bank and 1,000 Agaricus caps collected, putting us well into the top 100. What's even better is that now that I've gotten some first-hand experience farming Agaricus caps, we can calculate just how long this is going to take to crush first place. And with a rate of 178 caps per 22 minutes and only 16,000 caps left to collect, we see it's going to take 33 hours. What? I mean, maybe I did my math wrong. I've never been that great at it, unlike Daryl. Let's just double check that math, and it's right. What have I gotten myself into? Today was as eventful as a day of nothing but farming mushrooms could be. I may be in 6th place, but I have several hours ahead of me, before I can even get close to 1st or 2nd. Minion production on Lapis still isn't great, so I'm still flipping Lapis in order to sustain my rift sessions. Storage is becoming a bigger concern as my inventory is slowly filled with Agaricus caps. They do have an export I could eventually sell for coins, but not only is that export time consuming to make, I worry that first place would catch on to what I'm doing, and the only advantage I have in this is stealth. If I throw that away, I fear this could go on for just months. So, the untradeable, unsellable Agaricus cap bunches it is. I'm literally getting nothing out of this. Oh yeah, my island size expander in the community shop finished. My personal island is now 8 blocks bigger than it was before. I could have really used that extra minion slot. Oh well. Still farming mushrooms. I've turned off most sound and particles because I can't deal with it anymore. If I hear another ding sound, I'm gonna snap. Oh yeah, I actually ran into the alleged 2nd place holder in a lobby while farming mushrooms. Of course, I was far too paranoid to say anything, but I did learn a few interesting things while I was there. First, apparently he's actually in 1st place, which could mean one of 2 things. Either he's lying to me, or the website I'm using to track this, it gives me constant errors, it's actually wrong. So it's just really a 50-50 at this point. The second thing I learned is that he has a YouTube channel, which means it's time to do everybody's favorite thing, e-stock. Unfortunately, most of what I could find could not be used to blackmail him, so that's no longer an option. But I did find an interesting post on the forums. Oh, he used to farm melons. I guess that makes sense. It explains the name. Oh god. This man is clinically insane. He's outplayed me in my own game. No shot I can ever let him know about me. I just gotta keep farming mushrooms and hope he never ever finds out I exist. I'm beginning to slip. So many things can go wrong when farming this godforsaken crop. A beanstalk can grow and ruin my route. Sometimes the mushrooms will just take more or less time to harvest for literally no reason. And sometimes a player, oh, don't get me started on the players. It's all the same message. No matter the time of day, someone always wants help with a soul. Or they want help with Bakht. What is Bakht? I'm too angry to look it up, yet I must continue to see it. And then sometimes they want help with a snake. The mistakes of my videos past have come to haunt me in the realest way possible. I've resorted to playing with my hotbar off, just so I don't have to see anything but mushrooms. But that's not the worst of it. First place went up by 1,000. It's fine. Calm down. You're fine. But honestly, I think that's the least of my worries. You see, as I sit here and farm this crop, I have a window directly in front of me that gives me a nice view of the city and the countryside surrounding it. And as I've been doing this, there's been this longing. A longing to go outside, to be there, to be literally anywhere else than where I am. This is very bad. I fear I may drive myself away from ever completing this challenge. I need to do this really fast, or else I may never come back. I can't keep doing this. The very act of sitting down to farm mushrooms has begun to take a physical toll on me. A visceral bad feeling follows me as I farm more and more mushrooms. Almost as if my body has begun to fight back against this continued abuse. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, clearly, I'm just hamming this up for the effect, and farming mushrooms in a digital game isn't actually detrimental to your health. But to those of you that think that, let me describe why this is so terrible. The nature of the rift means I can never ever enter a flow state while I'm doing this. Even when I begin to enter a state of flow, it is always interrupted by me getting kicked out of the rift. This compounds with the fact that farming each and every single mushroom takes bare minimum 3 seconds, which is barely enough time to lose interest in what you're doing, only to be jerked back to reality by the need to now collect a ripe mushroom. Do you understand? I've been living in a near constant state of jerky action, I shouldn't say it like that, for the last 5 days. I'm on edge. And I feel like I could snap at anything. I've never longed for the outside more than I have this week. This must end tomorrow. Today is the day. Either I finish or I go insane trying. I've prepared 27 stacks of Grand Experience bottles, which should hopefully be all I need. I got all of this by craft flipping. As it turns out, it's exponentially better to buy from the bazaar and craft flip than do anything else. This means my minions were worthless and I've wasted all my time, but that's par for the course at this point. All that nonsense aside, let's take a look at the facts. Over the last 5 days, I've collected 10,000 caps. I need to do nearly all of that in 1 day. Let's get to it! You know, the biggest issue I faced when doing this is that I've been in a state of constant erratic stimulation, which feels terrible. So, how do I counter this? Overstimulation! After dealing with this onslaught for several hours and constantly fighting the urge to maniacally laugh the entire time, I felt myself begin to slip into a state similar to psychosis and cut myself off. I ended the day at 16,000 caps collected, 2,000 short of my goal. You thought I was gonna give up? I'm gonna do this. I'm not doing this. I feel terrible, but 2,000 is actually an amount I can realistically collect, and I don't really want to leave this dead in the water, so I'm just gonna fish it out. Side note, I was sick and tired of not knowing the exact amount of Agarius caps first and second had, so I went to another site that shows the collection amounts for Agarius caps, and the difference between first and second is 5 caps, which is just so petty. So you know what? I'm gonna match petty with petty. I'm beating first place by only 1 cap. The joy and relief I feel right now is second to none, and I definitely changed for the worse because of this experience. So how long does it actually take to get first place on a Skyblock leaderboard? It takes 9 days, 3 days of ignorance, and 6 days of restitution. Before I turn to ash and crumble away because of what I've done, it's probably best that I answer a few questions. Am I going to continue farming Agarius cap? No. Why didn't I do X, Y, or Z thing? It's either because I didn't know it was in the game, I didn't think of it at the time, or I disregarded it because it could be addressed through faster and cheaper methods. Looking at you, Rift Prism. Okay, bye.